Yeah, I'm smiling and I don't know why. Welcome to an Echo of Glory. Joining me today is Ollie Spiro. Hello.
Morning, how are you?
Yeah, I'm in fine form. Someone's got to be in good form.
Yes, it's not a sunny, it's a pouring rain morning in North London.
And it feels like it, even if it wasn't. And Gary Diamond, hello.
Good morning.
You're very fresh faced this morning. I don't know.
Am I? My son was in at 5:30 this morning.
Right.
So, I don't know why I'm fresh faced. Shouldn't be.
Well, you are.
Thank you.
It's been a while since I've been on.
Yeah,
Has anything happened?
Have we won a game? I don't know. Have we won a game?
No, I was on Southampton was my last appearance.
The live show.
So if having like kind of a cough and cold is for podcasts is like having a hamstring injury for footballers. So I was ill for a bit, and then you upgraded on me, which is something that doesn't happen at Spurs.
Well, it's a bit like being forced to play reggae on Ollie's.
Hola. Mum, I've been on the podcast again.
Is that what he said to his mum? Mum, I played football again.
Yeah.
Jumping ahead, he was. I don't know. He was all right yesterday.
Could have played. It's weird. A left back playing left back.
Okay, so Sydney Duke, regular Australian. Public holiday here, 30 degrees.
Oh yes, it's Australia Day.
Public holiday here, 30 degrees, beach, Barbies, beers, cracking day. It's kind of it's the kind of day that just gets ruined by Tottenham playing later on. Thankfully for him, they won't be playing today.
I don't understand why, if it's a public holiday, 30 degrees, beach, Barbies, cracking day, why are you listening to this?
That's a great point.
Like, why are you ruining your day? Honestly.
Because he's a loyal fan.
Listen to it tomorrow when you go back to work and you're depressed because you're going back to work. Listen to it then.
You're telling him to go away?
No, I'm telling him to listen to the show, but enjoy your day because this is going to be
Maybe
horrible.
he's outside with the barbecue on.
This is going to get vicious.
Yeah. Well, remember, it's what? It's going to be sort of like
lunchtime?
7, 8. Yeah, no, way later than lunchtime. So early
Of course, it's
evening.
lunchtime here. What am I talking
Depends
about?
where he is in Australia. But happy Australia today to all of our loyal Australian listeners
Except
who
for Ange.
may not be listening to us. But as things go, it's still there.
Well, if you believe Alistair Gold this morning,
Yeah,
the man is going nowhere. We'll come to it. We'll start with club news. Well, that is a bit of club news, but stuff that happened. We'll start with the 18s. Drew 1-1 with Crystal Palace on Saturday. 21s, despite most of their team being on our bench yesterday, beat Liverpool 2-0 yesterday.
Oh, but that's really impressive.
Yeah, goal scorers I've not heard of. Rio Kiera Martin and Oliver Iro. I was just going to
Oliver Iro's his brother. His brother's also signed up professional. I think my nephew knows him.
Okay, we'll get him on the pod. Trying to find a
He's
table.
probably, in fairness, he's probably not allowed to say too much.
And Liverpool at 8.
Yep, he's gone. Sydney Duke is gone. That's a good shout. Beers are calling. It's only 9 p.m. Catch up laters, lad.
Keep it clean.
Listen to it tomorrow, Sydney.
Can't guarantee that. All right, so Liverpool were 9th. That's a good result. The women, at half time yesterday, I noticed that both the men and the women were winning. And I was like, oh, what a day. And then I checked my phone and women weren't winning anymore. Away to Crystal Palace, it was 2-2. But they did get a 96th minute winner. New signing, Olivia Holt. New signing. Look at that. Turning a game around. Turn the game around. And they won 3-2. The men, I'll tell you what. We touched on this last week with James and Jake Sanders. Didn't go too deep into it. A little bit of club news. Ollie, this is going to be right up your street. But I'm going to start with Gary. That we haven't got long enough. I'm not into this whole finance stuff, but the Deloitte announced their some financial figures. Talk to me.
I think it's just about the wages to revenue spend, right? And we're bottom. But I think this goes into a deeper conversation about everything that's going on at Tottenham. For the first time, not for the first time, actually, yeah, I'd say for the first time in the stadium yesterday, we've often heard we want Levy out, but for the first time yesterday, it really was taking off. And this conversation sort of feeds into that. I think a lot of people at this moment, Ollie included, maybe, are attributing where we are currently to Daniel Levy, which kind of seems to absolve Ange of a lot of blame. And I understand where people are coming from with it, and Levy is not without blame in any of this. But I think there are two separate conversations.
That's not me opening a beer like
I was about to say, it's not 9 p.m.
But I think there are two separate conversations. One is about Levy and how he runs the club, and one is about Ange and how he runs the team. And there are some overlaps within that. The fact that we haven't signed anybody this window, but fundamentally, a lot needs to change at the club, the board, or the attitude of the board, and the management, or the attitude of the management.
Yeah,
a lot needs to change. So, but essentially, the Deloitte thing was, yes, we are bottom of the table when it comes to wages to revenue at just 42%.
Bottom of the table.
We have the lowest percentage. And I think it's important to
settle down, settle in.
No. I'm saying when you look at the table, it's really important to look at. You want to look at your peers, really.
Yeah.
Because you have got Aston Villa who are at 96, 97%,
which is unsustainable.
Which is alarm bells ringing.
Yeah,
and I'm not demanding that.
Yeah.
But then equally, I'd say that 43% should also be alarm bells ringing for different reasons. You look at Arsenal, United. Are up at sort of and City, I think, are in the mid 50%. Now, if we were to, and I don't know the numbers, but imagine us increasing our that ratio by 10% to hit the same level as the Manchester United and Arsenal, who should be in our peer, or we assume we're in the same, or have the aspiration to be in that peer group. The quality of players that we would be able to attract would be a completely different level of footballer. I've used this example before, I think even on the show. One of the sort of analogies I use is talking about sort of like Big Pharma. And Pharma obviously make massive profits, but they also have to spend loads on R&D to try and find the next cure for cancer or whatever. Because
I love these rabbit holes you go down.
No. But it's about them because they'll get a patent or a license on that drug which lasts for like 100 years. So that's why it's so
link
valuable.
It to Spurs.
So then you link it to Spurs, and the fact is that you look at the sort of benchmarks that are set by third parties, i.e. the Premier League, and they will say that, call it, and I don't want the numbers, but say it's 70%. That's still a sustainable level. It's not like we're so far below that we're actually negligent on the way. And so we're not investing what we should be. And even if we were at 70%, we would still be making plenty of money and being very comfortable. It's quite obvious a couple of years ago, actually, at the height of, I think it was in the annual accounts that followed, like Conte and Ndombele. Levy was very explicit in the official accounts talking about the unsustainability of this, the inflation within the Premier League, and the fact that yes, we will be reinvesting back into the club and also into capital projects. Now we're talking about optics now, and the optics. This is coming at a really bad time. The optics of it all are horrific.
Yeah.
And as such, you're sitting there thinking, well, why are you at 43%? What benefit is to me, the fan, the loyal customer, that's been going for 30 odd years, been going for one day? How am I getting closer to that dream of winning trophies and being better than Arsenal and this, that, and the other? You can see there's something amiss. You've got the hotel being built. Clearly something is happening on a corporate level, and you're saying, we're buying these youngsters. Well, there's clearly a wage-based element on that as well.
But as we've said before...
And why do we have Ange? Because Ange is a manager who's not going to be on 15 million a year. I'm not saying that Conte and Mourinho were worth 15 million a year or not, but if that's the going rate for the quality manager, and we're probably down considerably less than that on Ange, you pay peanuts, you get monkeys.
Listen, don't get me wrong. Rowan K says in the comments, it doesn't make sense why we haven't made signings. Plenty of PSR room, very wage turnover ratio. Where's the money gone? Fine.
That's
what you're saying.
Remember, cash is different to PSR.
Yeah, fine. But listen. What Ange's wages are, I don't know. It's so boring to keep talking about Iraola. What are his wages?
He's the lowest paid manager in the league. But this is just a conversation that we had a few weeks ago. We discussed before the Deloitte money chart, right? And I made the point, people can talk about Levy out. I'm all for that until actually you've got somebody prepared to put their hand in their pocket and come in. And until you know what that person's intentions are, we are fundamentally stuck. And it is a horrible way to phrase it, but we are stuck with Levy. That's not to say that we shouldn't push for change or demand change, because we absolutely should. But given the new PSL structure, this isn't an environment now where you look at Newcastle, they've got the richest owners in the world. They can't just put their money in their pocket and buy their way to success. The only thing a new owner can do at this stage is increase the wage to revenue ratio. And we literally said this the other day. Somebody might come in and say, right, okay, we can increase it to 55%. Absolutely, that's what they should be doing. I think 55% to 60% is probably the sweet point, right, where you're financially secure, stable. That's what should be being spent. As much as we have the lowest revenue to wage, we should also keep in mind we are still, I think, the 6th highest wage payers in the country, or in the Premier League, because our revenue is so much larger than the rest. So it's not exactly correlative. But all the same, there is a lot of headroom there, and we should be using that. We said this the other week.
We looked at the absolute numbers on the wages. We were a few £1,000s ahead of Villa and Newcastle, yet we were tens of millions behind 5th place. So calling us top 6 is we are top 6 officially, but we are
right.
Clearly.
But if that is the argument, Ollie, but if that is the argument that people are levying right now, okay,
no pun,
no, absolute pun. But if that is the argument that people are levying right now, I don't in any way absolve Levy from what is happening right now. I think there's so much that is absolutely disgusting about what is going on. But the reality is, and you have just said it, we are the 6th highest wage payers in the Premier League. And if wages are correlative of where you should be, which they ultimately are, which is why we want them increased, and right now is fundamentally failing in a big way.
I don't think Ollie disagrees with that.
We have a squad that is more than capable of being 5th or 6th in the Premier League. And actually, where a manager earns his money is by overachieving, right? So the minimum right now should be 6th. And I'm really happy to have the conversation about Levy, really happy. But I can't get away from the fact that we've got a manager who increasingly is beyond clueless. I'm sorry. And I hold my hands up to that, because I had a lot of faith and a lot of hope in Ange for a long time. I want to see the positive in things. I really do. I want to see the positive in what Levy's done with the club. I want to see the positive in how Ange had us playing. I do try to look at the positive because I want to believe. Ultimately, though, I'm wrong.
I want to say a couple of bits to say. First, you talk about the intentions of a new owner. Well, I want to know what the intentions of the current owners are.
Yes,
because it's incredibly opaque.
Yes.
Well, it's not really, because you can see that we're essentially a real estate business. 2, what I would say though is that there are owners out there that will look at Tottenham Hotspur generating, call it 550, 600 million pounds with no or limited on-field success. And as a consequence of that, you will not get the stellar corporate commercial deals. You are not getting, we're still way behind Chelsea on commercial deals, because Chelsea are associated with being winners. Even now, they're still associated with that. So the blue chip covenants will say, we want to be associated with that brand. They don't want to be associated with Tottenham Hotspur. So there will be believers out there saying, I'm going to make the first step and increase that wage to turnover ratio, buy better players, approach the market differently and say, hey, I want you, Johnny Blaine. You play for X team. I've already agreed with the deal with them. Very simple. And you're coming here. We want you. And that's happening. Approach the market rather than the sort of long drawn out things in the way we're doing, looking for opportunities. No, we need to act differently. We are a behemoth of a football club. I want to look at things positively. We are Tottenham Hotspur. We should be able to knock on the door of Iriola tomorrow and get him, because that's the size we are. But we're not acting like it. So that's the intentioning of commercial deals come together.
When you talk about Chelsea, who was the last team? There's this unwritten rule of don't nab Premier League managers during the season. The last team to do that with Chelsea went to Brighton and got Graham Potter.
Correct. It can happen. Anything in this industry can happen. Yes, there are, quote, rules and guidelines, but essentially they're poacher and gamekeepers.
And incidentally, this is a club that still has so much more revenue untapped. We haven't named the stadium.
Correct. This is what I'm talking about.
We are not. We are not in the Champions League at this minute. Huge revenue streams, right? So people are talking about we want Levy out. If there is somebody out there that's going to put their hand in the pocket, this is the time. Because actually, this is the time the club should be at its cheapest to buy. Because
notionally,
it should be at its cheapest to buy. So if it's not, if there aren't people out there putting their hands in the pocket, putting their hands up, going, this is a huge opportunity, I can take this club, and we still haven't sold the stadium rights, we still haven't, got Champions League. If it's not happening now, and I've just said I'd like to look at things positively, but if we are not able to sell the club right now, at a point when it should be comparatively cheaper than what it otherwise could be, I don't have much hope that he's going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
He's not going anywhere.
No, he's not going. Like
soon.
Like we're completely agreeing with each other. Like if we're turning over 550 to 600 million by being crap on the pitch comparative to our peers, imagine what we could be generating. Like you turn around to Nike and say, they're like, we want you to be our Air Jordan brand. Actually, and then that money goes up accordingly. You know, all these things come. Like actually, you go back. It's when you go back to Chelsea under Abramovich, because they knew the money was coming in from Abramovich at the end of the day to always keep the wheel turning. The brands like Samsung and Adidas or whoever were very happy to be, because they knew if they dropped out 1 year, the money was going straight back in, and they would get back into the Champions League, and they would, you know, they would invariably. I'm not saying anyone guarantees you trophies, but you're in the discussion quite consistently. So this is the point. Our commercial revenue, we could have God knows how much on top of that, but what needs to happen is chicken and egg. We're driving as much cash as we can by this same idea of the owners not, quote, putting money in or this, that, and the other. So it takes an owner's come in to put the handbrake down and actually push the boundaries. And that's what
I think the biggest point that you made is we need transparency from Levy, because where I'm really struggling is before the stadium, I was the first one to give leeway and say, you know, Levy was never sort of never hid the fact that it was infrastructure first and then football second, and then he built the training ground, he built the stadium. Finally got it all done in a much longer period of time than it should have been, but fine, he got it done in the end. You know, I'll go back to the days when people would say never a brick, because they didn't believe that Levy would build the stadium. He's built that stadium.
Yeah, never a brick.
You know, I gave him leeway throughout that whole period on the basis of he wants to build something, and then he said it, and once we are in that stadium, the football will become the priority and things will change. Where my issue comes is, I even mitigated for COVID after we moved in the stadium. I said, okay, that buys them another season or two. But where my problem is, and the truest thing, I mean, everything you said is right, but the truest thing is, what are his actual intentions? Because he has told us for so long that the football will be the priority when we go into that stadium, but nothing we're seeing at the moment backs that up.
Binny Guy says on here, we spent too much on buying the wrong players. Listen, everyone's got their favourite players and the ones they dislike. You listed a few here, Binny. Solanke, you disagree, think he's a good player. Richie, yeah, jury out. Johnson's, jury's out. Jesus Christ. I don't know what position Jesus Christ plays. Maybe
he's good on crosses.
Good on his goalkeeper.
but what to say? But actually, that's a very interesting part. No, but those are three really interesting examples, and it comes back to it's the transfer fee versus wage structure. Now, Solanke's a funny one because he's a £65 million player, but apparently he's on 120 grand a week. When 120 grand a week is not what I would expect a top-level Premier League striker to be on, who's just scored 19 goals in a season. So that and wages leak out of the football club. They go into the pockets of the footballers / agents. They say, no, that's what they hate. Transfer fees are they're amortised. And so you've got buy player for 50 million over 5 years, 10 million season. So you get down to, call it season number 3, he's down at 20 million. You sell him for 30 million. You've actually made a book profit. So Spurs are actually quite comfortable overpaying on the transfer fee. Like Johnson, apparently Brentford were pretty close to him at like 30-ish million, but we were happy to push the boat out to get it at that done, because to us, we were like, oh my God, £50 million player. But actually, he's probably on 70, 80 grand a week on wages. That's what you're getting. Yeah. So, and then Richarlison's similar. He's a 90 grand a week wage taker. So the transfer fees are, and everyone goes, oh, but look how much we've spent. Wages. It's a great book, Soccernomics. They had a huge section about wages, and it was about 10 years old, but it will still stand true. It's the best guide to success, and 100%. Ange is not getting the most out of what he's got, and Spurs always want to be 6th or 7th on wages, but finishing top 4.
Let's have just a couple of things here. Dan the Dad, the only way to protest ENIC is to stop buying beer or food in the stadium on any match day. People want to do that, it's up to them. In my opinion, the club will notice.
You're never going to say to people,
don't
go to football and deprive yourself of. When I go to football, when I go to watch Tottenham, one of the few joys is having a few beers.
Yeah, but people might say do it in the pubs around the ground, go to Chick King, whatever. My son likes the burger at Spurs.
Exactly.
I'm going to.
Yeah, they're annoyingly good.
I get it. There are protests to be had, and it's going to happen. And
well, I remember a couple of years ago, I was at Preston away under Conte, and the Levy out thing was really big at that point. and I'm in the away end, and actually I got caught on camera.
Yeah.
And I'm shaking my head, and a lot of mates are watching. Like, why are you shaking your head? I'm like, because everyone around me shouting, "Leave you out! This, that, get out of the club." And I find it very, very difficult in the ground to say anything against Tottenham Hotspur. Yeah, when I'm having a beer at half time with my mates, I'm like, that was an absolute shower. But I will never boo my own player. I will never call for a manager to be sacked, and I can't really bring myself to say leave you out. But actually, I'm sitting here thinking that I was pretty close to it yesterday for the first time in my life, because I'm feeling you're the biggest obstacle. Yes, Ange has to go. 100%, he's not good enough for his job, for the job he's doing, and he's doing an awful job. But yeah, it was loud yesterday. I think I texted on the group 29th minute, and it really started picking up, and it's quite loud where I sit in the southeast corner.
Let's have a look. Well, my dad's just dropped in some club news that the ladies have signed a player called Josephine Wybrink, so thanks to him for updating the club
Oh, God,
news.
I've been watching. Yes.
All right, let's talk about yesterday.
Morning, Jake Sanders.
No, he's joined us.
Ronnie, you can say it for Ronnie's posted here. I will say it for you. Levy out. Nobody's not saying not Levy out. I'm happy for Levy to go.
Yeah, if he go.
By the way, it's Enoch out. It's not Levy.
But who's coming in? You all sat there going Levy out. Great, and then.
And it's also going to take a while for this to happen.
Because they've spat up them selling a 12-year-old youth goalkeeper.
And what's coming in? I'm all for Levy out, right? But if I look at it right now, what can be fixed? What can change right now, short term, that can make things better? Two things. One, the board can buy some players straight away this week. And two, they can sack a manager who is very clearly out of his depth. Yeah. And Bingard posting here, I feel very sorry for Ange because he's being abused big time by folks in the UK. Bingard, of course he is.
We're 15th in the Premier League.
He has got the worst points per game in 75 years for Tottenham Hotspur Football Club. He's got a squad that we've already established is the 6th best paid squad in the league. And he has got the worst points per game in 75 years. What do you want people to do? Go, poor Ange? No. And this injury crisis is a making of his own, right? Not all of it, but a lot of it. And can we get into the game yesterday? Because,
yes.
Right. I'll give you an example of this, right? We go to the game, you hear that Maddison's out the squad. You hear that Maddison's got a knock. You hear that Maddison wanted to play. A knock. Yeah. You hear that Maddison wants to play, and Ange said, no, you've got a knock, you sit it out. And you think to yourself, maybe the guy's learning, because after the medical team advised him to not play Van der Ven and Romero, and he ignored that and went and played them, and look what happened against Chelsea, maybe he's starting to learn. So he's told Maddison, sit this one out, Madders, right? And then after the game, the geezer comes out and goes, yeah, well, it was clear that Sarr was injured and he wasn't fully fit. He shouldn't really have played. What? You're simultaneously telling Maddison to sit out whilst putting Sarr in when you've got Gray, who can play central midfield, and Reguilon, who can play left back. This guy's a fucking idiot. I'm sorry, but he is.
Just
get him out. Get him out.
If anyone's motivated to get a win yesterday,
but if he's injured, he's injured.
Yeah, Gary's 100% right in terms of we all sat. It's like, well, Sarr's injured. Play Gray in midfield and Reguilon left back. You've got some square pegs and square holes, and you're actively choosing not to do it.
Yeah, exactly. And by the way, because I've seen a couple of comments that you've shown, I'm not on that tickety-tockety boo, right? Because they're all 5-year-old children and it shows, right? But you showed me a couple of comments where people said, oh, is this guy suggesting that Reguilon's the answer? Or shows what he knows. No, I'm not suggesting that Reguilon is the answer. Obviously, I'm not suggesting that Reguilon is the answer. However, I'm also saying that playing with Gray in midfield and Reguilon at left back is better than playing a central midfielder who isn't fit and a central midfielder at left back.
Correct.
I would also hasten to add that Archie Gray was Championship centre midfield for Leeds last season, playing against a Leicester team.
To be fair, he played mostly at right
but I mean, but he's more than capable of playing Leicester.
And let's be clear,
more than capable of playing
came
Leicester.
on anyway. So if Reguilon was going to come on anyway, why not just start that? And also, whilst we did bugger all in that second half, Ange going, we controlled the game and we had some chance they just didn't drop. No, we didn't, mate. I sat there and didn't think we'd score in a month of Sundays.
Correct.
Right? So I don't know what you're talking about. And that was even in the first half.
57 minutes.
That was even in the first half. All I can remember from the second half was a ball over the top to Kulusevski. He didn't have the pace, unfortunately. And Porro not that's a free kick. Going down the right and smashing it into the side netting. Outside of that, the only other chance we had was Gray in central midfield, working his backside off and making a tackle on the goal line, putting it across the 6-yard box. Brilliantly.
Yeah, that was done by me.
but we did not control the game. We did not create chances against a team that hadn't won in 7 off the back of a week when we lost to a team that hadn't scored in 10.
Yeah.
And people are saying, I feel sorry for Ange. No, get out.
You've got a new friend in Barry Kenley here. Gary, again, is right. I believe if we didn't have all the injuries, we'll be mid-table. I just want to focus on the game yesterday. We all agree with that, Barry. We should probably be higher than mid-table.
Well, I was talking yesterday, actually, but like, if you look at it, before yesterday, we'd lost 12 games. A better manager probably loses 6, draws 3, say wins 3, turn some of those results around. If we had 12 more points, we're sitting there on 36 points with Europe and the other cup continents. That to me would be absolute par.
Not to mention that a better manager might not have had his head of medical leave in the summer because of a disagreement with him. Not to mention that a better manager might not have been taking the risks with the players and pushing them as hard as he has been in training and on the pitch. Not to mention that probably we wouldn't have the injury crisis that we do because this guy doesn't know how to manage his players.
And by the way, also, you mentioned about coming back too early. It's quite clear that Davis, Odegaard and Richarlison can also go into that pot.
Yes.
They got injured literally a day, a one game or one sub appearance straight away. So there's 5 players there that have gone.
All right, I'm going to speak now. Thanks.
It's not as if it's your show. Anything.
It's not my show, it's our show, but I'm going to speak now. Right, the lineup for yesterday, so I'm going to do, was Kinski in goal, Porro, Dragusin, Davies, Gray, Bergvall, Benton, Sarr, Kulusevski, Richarlison, Son. Again, on the face of it, didn't have too many options, but look, Reguilon can't even play on Thursday night, so he probably should have started on yesterday. Gray could have played in midfield. There were other options. Regardless of whether you've got a few round pegs in square holes, that team should be beating Leicester City.
Yes.
My dad said to me a couple of days ago, this is the whole R relegation word. We're not quite there yet, but if we lost to Leicester, you start to think that you might be. We had a game against Bristol City in the relegation season. Bristol City were bottom. Spurs went to Bristol City and lost, and lo and behold, we ended up getting relegated. I don't know if we're going to get relegated.
Did we beat Bristol Rovers 9-0?
That was in the second. That was when we went down.
Was that in the second?
Wasn't that in Division 2?
If any of our listeners who are slightly older than us...
it does often feel as though there is a team that drops like a stone.
Yes.
And at the moment, that is us.
Yes.
And we can't buy a win. And as somebody's put here, Dean S has written here, the scary thing is I can't see where we win before we play Southampton in April. Look, I think we will. I also think that if we didn't pick up another point between now and the end of the season, I think we would just about survive. Actually, because I think the teams below us are that bad and just won't pick up enough points. So, but that's obviously not where we want to be. And then there is the other factor that we will get players back, we will pick up some points, and we will be okay. But again, if I'm talking about, of people are talking about, when players come back, we were 3 points off 4th and we had good metrics, as I was. I hold my hands up, I was. But when you actually look at it over a longer period, which Johnny and others were pointing out to me, even at that time, our points per game even then were about 1.3, even with players fit. And the scary thing is, some players are going to come back, others will get injured.
Well, this is the
We've
point,
never
guys.
had a fully fit squad outside of those first 10 games. We have never had a fully fit squad under this guy because he doesn't know elite sports at this level and how to manage them. That is abundantly
This is the thing.
becoming
If the
clear.
players come back, how far Romero might be back against Brentford, don't know. They're going to come back in trickles. They're not all going to come back in one game and suddenly everybody's back and we start winning football matches. Like you just said, some will come back and some will go out again. Some will come back and new ones will go out again. Some will come back and others won't come back.
The greatest fear from my perspective is you see the games we lose and the same patterns happen in every single game. You were saying just before, you didn't believe that we were going to score a goal in the second half. I was sitting there on about 57, 58 thinking I'd take a draw because, again, I couldn't see us
Scoring
actually.
twice.
And again, Arsenal, 5 minutes of football, 2-1. Everton, about 10, 15 minutes of football, win the game, and we're not really and we're out yesterday, 5
Leicester.
minutes win. So we're being sucker punched. These XG chances, which are being taken by, not even big XG chances, but we are now every goal is being scored against us now. It's not just set pieces, it's transitions, it's cross, it's every single type of goal is being scored against us. Porro is exhausted. This is criminal. And our manager's just looking at, he's got such a sort of blasé view of defending and everything. You've got to build from the base. And he's got no interest in it. So potentially when you're playing full Kirk, they don't take that chance, and then you just you score the next chance in this basketball type football. But no, when you're up at this level, sorry, the nuances are there.
Yeah.
And also we knew as soon as Leicester players started going down every 2 minutes, how would we have approached winning 2-1 away from home in a must-win game? We'd have been ball back on the goal kicks, going straight again. Not, we're idiots. But that comes from him. We can't, and 7 minutes of injury time, perfect. I mean, they got away with it perfectly. We wouldn't.
Can I just ask, Charlie Brown in our comments here asks, the fans are the problem. Thanks, Charlie. Can you let us know what you mean by that? And generally, I'd love to hear that.
100%. I love it when people say this. The fans are the problem. In
We
what
I
way?
was thinking on the way in here, between the three of us, and I'm sure on our comments and other podcasts too, we've been going since late 80s.
9 or 10, yeah, so exactly.
Late
same,
80s. Explain to me why I'm the problem. I put money, time and effort into this football club. And you may not be talking about us three. You may be talking about 47,000 other people. But what does that mean? I've forgotten what I was going to say about yesterday. Yeah, I had to leave early yesterday, about 83, 84 minutes to get
You
to
didn't miss much.
No, well, no.
Didn't miss anything.
I heard one raw, which I think ended up was offside anyway. To get to my car, because my son had a game at 10-5. So I know that if we'd scored, I probably would have heard the raw, but I had my phone, Flash Score app. And obviously Flash Score, I don't know if you use it. If there's a goal, you get this little red dot that flashes for about 20 seconds, 15 seconds before the goal. And it never came, and I actually thought we would score.
It flashes 15 seconds before the goal.
It says big chance, and it just then says goal. Sometimes it goes away if the goal is disallowed in that period. Anyway, we've talked about, when was the last time we scored game-changing late goals? I actually thought we would score yesterday. I thought we'd get 10 minutes of injury time. Seems like we only got 8
We got 7.
Well, he added on, and he did add on a little bit more. We got about 8.5. Should have been more.
Pereira went down on 89, 50 seconds.
Yeah, it should have been more. Leicester played all those games brilliantly,
which we wouldn't
something
do.
Needs to be done about that. Well, anyway, all I want to say is, I feel like if it was even this current United or Arsenal or Liverpool or Chelsea or this current City, I feel they would have just got that equaliser. Right now, we are. We're still only Matt Hayes again. We've lost 12 of our 13 defeats have been by 1 goal this season. When we get relegated, it's okay, because 16 of our 17 defeats that year were by 1 goal.
That goes back to my point about a better manager of those 12, now 13 defeats. Half of them could be game-changing. You get more positive results. You've got to be hard to beat first. Get out on that pitch, and you are not going to get beaten, then build from there. I had no doubt yesterday that United would get a late goal at Fulham. They've actually got a weird record there where they've scored a lot of late goals there, but I had no doubt they were going to get that late goal. I have zero doubt that we score crucial goals at this football club. It's obviously a part to do with, Kane was a crucial goal scorer. We'd always say about Defoe scored the fourth goal in a 4-0 rout. It's not really, you're thinking like that, wherever there's a stat, but, those players, those elite footballers that add value to that level, we do not have enough of them.
And I know he was supposedly injured, but taking Richarlison off after now, okay, we've learned later, maybe he's now got a groin injury, wonderful. At the time it felt weird. Charlie Brown has been back on to his... Sorry, I was saying the fans are the problem. Spurs fans panic and go after Levy, whose only recourse is to sack the manager.
I can't even bother to get into that because, what do you want Spurs fans to do? Why should we not be panicking right now? We haven't won a game in however long. We've just been beaten by Everton and Leicester pathetically. Didn't even look like winning either game, Charlie. So are you telling us to not panic? I am panicked. I am very much panicked.
I also think that because we've sacked previous managers, doesn't mean we shouldn't be sacking this one.
But also sacking managers who didn't get fourth, let alone bringing us into a relegation scrap.
Another one, the Richarlison injury, right? So it comes out afterwards that the guy said at half time, I'm struggling a little bit, but I want to give it 10 minutes. And Ange went, yeah, okay, mate. Madders said, I can play. He went, no, you're not playing. Like, I don't get it. And then he brings Richarlison off, and after the horror show of Son up front last week, decides that actually he's going to try Son again up front. Why? You've got other options. Put Lancashire up there. Put Kulusevski up there. You can't play Son up front. We know
this guy is totally out of his depth.
Listen,
he's the worst manager I've ever seen.
I just don't think we should be making this about Charlie Brown. The points are ridiculous.
Because actually, Charlie makes a point that a lot of fans are saying, you're in a semi-final. Okay, who knows if we get through that? We're still in the FA Cup. Okay, we're still in the FA Cup because we start in the third round and we scrape past the team 4 divisions below us.
Who could have won.
And we're in the Europa League last 8. Okay,
last 16.
We should beat Elfsborg and we go through.
No, it's last 16.
We last 16.
Yeah. I think it means top eight.
Top eight.
Yeah, so we'll be into the last 16. Great. We're probably not going to get relegated. What if we do get relegated and we win the Europa League? Is that a successful season? No. Probably end up winning the
But
Champions
this
League
is-
next
it'd be
season.
memorable.
But this is the point.
Win the Champions League next season and get relegated to League One.
But this is the point that we were saying last week when somebody said, "Oh, the League Cup in 15th is a successful season." No, it's not. It's not. The League Cup in 15th is not a successful season. The Europa League and the Europa League win and finishing 15th, that would be.
I'm starting to waver on that now.
That would be a
because-
real sort of conundrum. But you know,
Yeah.
I think I still don't think you could say it's a successful season. You could very much enjoy winning the Europa League, but the league is the yardstick of where you are as a team, where you are as a squad, and how your manager is performing. If you're 15th and you're taking 1.02 points a game, I think actually our last 38 games we've taken 35 points, Charlie. 38 league games, and you're the statistician, maybe you can correct me on this, but I'm sure
go
I
on.
read this,
Tell me on
that in the
those
last
sides, yeah.
38 league games, 38, that is a season, we've taken 35 league points. Don't you dare tell me to not panic, and don't people come at me and say, when players are fit. We've had fit players fit in those last 38 games, and we've taken 35 points.
Going back to our collective experience of Spurs, remember the three of us got our season tickets in the late 80s, where we did buy players like Gascoigne, we did buy Gary Lineker, and we did win the FA Cup when it was something truly to behold. Then moved into the sugar years, and this is where sometimes you need to listen to the guys that have been through it. This to me is worse than Christian Gross era at Spurs, because at Christian Gross we at least had like a Ginola there still that could dig you out of a hole. I don't see anyone on that pitch digging us out of a hole and winning a football match in a way that they can turn, that a Ginola or an Anderson could turn a football match. I've been quite consistent here that I think this is one of the worst squads that we've had assembled, certainly under Enoch, maybe not under Sugar.
I think we've had worse squads.
But the point is that every crack is being exposed, and those cracks are not being solved by the manager, and therefore it all combusts and it's compounding on each other. But we do not have we don't have game winners. B, we don't have leaders. C, I don't believe that we've got players that if we have to go to Oldham to win 2-0, like we did in 93, 94, do I think this team? Do I think this
about a battle?
Do I think this team has got the battle to do it? Yeah, they run around. But look at their second goal. There is a huge hole in the middle of midfield. That hole doesn't go away while Ange is there, because the tactics are entirely flawed. This is schoolboy football.
Gary, to answer your question, the last 38 games we have 46 points.
That's relegation form.
That's 1.0. That's 1.04, give or take. 1.04 to 1.1.
That's just above relegation form.
Well,
I mean, it's untenable. It is untenable. And as I said last week when I was here, he has Jed Spence, ironically, to thank that we didn't go out the League Cup. People talking about the Cups. He's got Jed Spence to thank for not going out the League Cup.
Correct.
He's got terrible finishing, courtesy of Tamworth, the reason that we didn't go out the FA Cup. Like, people talk about the Cups. Like, we've made hard work of pretty easy European run, and we've made hard work of it. Like, there's nothing really that's happening here, and I just can't get my head around how this guy is still here.
Mate,
My biggest criticism of Levy right now is twofold. One, no players in January,
Ridiculous.
and I don't care
Ridiculous.
that Ange may or may not go. Right? There's a great thread on Twitter yesterday about managers who have left and what they've said about the club, and they've all said, we wanted this player, the club bought that player. Now, all of a sudden, people are saying, oh, well, the reason that we're not buying players, we don't know what's going on with Ange. How the hell does it matter? Especially when we're in a period when actually we're meant to be building a DNA. That's what we were told. So therefore, it shouldn't really matter who the manager is. We should still be targeting the same players regardless. So the idea that we haven't bought an outfield player because we don't know what the situation is with Ange is criminal on behalf of the club. The second thing that's criminal on behalf of the club is that Levy hasn't sacked this guy because he clearly is out of his depth.
Well, okay, so on that, this morning, news broke from Alistair Gold, and he knows his stuff. One of the most reputable Spurs journalists out there. Ange is being backed. Well, I say backed, not being sacked. The silence from the club is remarkable. I don't mean silence in the fact they've not come out and written a statement or said anything. Silence in one signings in January and silence in not sacking him. So we're just 8 games into January and nothing has happened, bar Antonin Kinski. How do we feel? Like, I wouldn't lose any sleep if he got sacked. I said that in November. You've sort of turned a little bit, Ollie.
I've turned full circle. Yeah, I'm not a little bit. I want him gone.
You were not like you were ahead of me. I was like, this guy's a competition winner. I mean, going back to some of the other cup things, like United 3-0 up, fantastic, but his style of football turns into a cup tie again.
Match,
yeah, it's like, this is mental. This is mental stuff. And we are an intelligent fan base. And there were a lot of people before day one of Ange saying, say no to Ange. We're like, how dare you, how dare you? Mate, this guy, I really wanted to get behind the idea of him.
Yeah.
The idea of an Aussie coming, guy not a usual route through to football. Aussies are great, the greatest sporting nations, amazing mentality. But football, they're just miles behind.
To go back, my dad says we lost at home to Bristol City. Dad, I've looked it up. Looked like we were away. Maybe we lost at home to them as well. And Barry Kenley says I was at that Division 2 game. We beat Bristol Rovers 9-0.
When Ian Moore scored 5?
Possibly.
4 or 5. And then there's... anyway, Colin Lee.
Okay, here's the question, the R word. And I'll put this out to the comments as well. Are we yet in a relegation battle? I'll just let you know that we were 500 to 1 to go down about 2 weeks ago. We are now 25 to 1 to go down. And that's all about market movement. Like, nobody was backing Spurs to go down 2 or 3 weeks ago. Suddenly they are, and obviously the market has to move with it.
What did you get your odds at?
500 to 1. Are we in a relegation battle? And and additionally, do you trust us in a relegation battle? Because we're going to have this situation like when Leicester won the league, everybody wanted Leicester won the league. Eden Hazard even came out and said it. We want Leicester to win the league. It's going to come a point when every fan thinks it's hilarious, and it is. I'd be like that. They will want Tottenham to go down.
100%.
I don't think we will. So I'll answer my own question first. I don't think we will, because I think we'll probably get... I think we probably need 4 wins.
We're in a relegation battle until we're not. We are sleepwalking into it.
Okay. So do you think we are? Do you think we are at the moment?
100%.
Gary?
Look,
I think we can't ignore the fact that if we don't pick up some wins, it's going to get squeaky bum time. Charlie Brown saying again on our comments, "You're not going down. Spurs fans are panicking." Charlie, I'm not panicking about us going down. I don't believe we're going down. I'm panicking about where we are as a club, where we're going. This is not sustainable. This is not who Tottenham Hotspur are and should be. I think you're misunderstanding, Charlie, what my anger is here. It's not that I think we're going down. Yes, currently we're in a relegation battle. We can't ignore the fact that we're about 5 or 6 points off the relegation zone. I don't think we'll go down. I think we'll pick up points. I think we'll be fine. And as I said earlier, I think we could not kick a ball again all season and probably not go down. Genuinely do, because the teams below us are terrible.
However, we just lost to one of them.
Well, this is the point. And actually, Ryan says, I only think we will not get relegated because the teams below us. That means we're not in control of the situation. And we have just lost to 2 teams below us, which... Wake up, guys. They were 6-pointers. Win those 2 games as we should have done, and as Tottenham Hotspur should be winning those games, or not losing to Everton and winning against Leicester, we're probably out of it. And that's how quickly it can turn. But the manager is the root cause of all of this. Yes, fundamentally, we are absolutely in it.
Ollie,
and I have a
nervous
disposition because I grew up watching Spurs in the 90s and did see 2 or 3
relegation battles.
Yeah, I was there when Klinsmann scored those goals away to Wimbledon, while the other mob up the road were winning the double. So yes, I know what it's like to get to May, into a May calendar month, still in the fight.
Apparently, the only thing worse than results is the crying of our fans. Thank you very much, Paul. You can go and, I don't know, find another pod. They talk less sense than us. I don't know. Colin Miller, 2 great stats from Colin Miller. Also damning for Tottenham Hotspur is that Ruud van Nistelrooy has been at Leicester City for 10 Premier League games and had a 7-game losing streak and still managed to collect 3 more points than Tottenham Hotspur in the same timeline. Now 25 defeats in the last 51 Premier League games. That's a 50% loss rate over 15 months. And he then says, in the space of a week, Tottenham have lost 2 Premier League games against teams who had 1 win in 12 Premier League games and 1 win in 14 Premier League games. I don't know if Paul's still here. Maybe gone to another pod. How's that not alarm bells?
I wonder why Paul isn't crying. I wonder why Paul is okay. Paul, why are you calm? Why are you chill? Why are you okay with this situation? What do you see as being positive and good? Why should we be happy right now? You tell us. You're sat there going, the only thing worse than the results is the crying of our fans. You, rather than point and whatever, come up here and tell us why should we be happy right now?
Yeah.
By the way,
tell us what's good.
Yeah. You know, us as fans, we're on the floor as well. You know, let's be honest, this schedule is exhausting for us as fans, let alone the players. Those players need some faces in the dressing room. They need something to lift them. They need to see someone come in and say, right, lads, whoever it is, bring in whatever footballer it is. They're human beings. They are, you know, I laugh. My dad says, like, when you watch, like, old like World War II documentaries, and you see like the end of the days of the Nazis, and then you have the
Now
Hitler,
where are you going?
Hitler parading like 15-year-old kids like defending Berlin. That's kind of where like you look at like Grey, Bergman. They shouldn't be. They are kids.
That's the other thing about a potential relegation battle. We're going to have to send, unless the players come back.
This is a man's battle.
I'm watching Bergvall run around. Looks like a great talent, and we are going to talk to him, by the way. We've got a chat with Frida Fagerlund later, which will come out later this week, on the Swedish contingent and Elfsborg on Thursday. I'm watching him run around. Brilliant, good player, but still raw, improving all the time.
Correct.
If this is a guy we're putting into, not fair on him and Gray and whoever else is a kid in this. Like, honestly,
this is where you need to be rigid, and our structure is not rigid. Our tactics are not rigid. Again, it comes back to the hard to beat first, and then you hope your quality comes through.
Yeah.
And these kids are going to be picking up bad habits because there's no leadership off the pitch. There's no leadership on the pitch.
Can I read you
Ange stands there on the side of the pitch doing nothing. There is no tactics there. You can see that. Again, I'll come back to the second goal. It is carnage.
It was so soft. I'm going to read you some stats from yesterday's game. Tottenham have failed to win any of their last 7 Premier League games, drawn 1, lost 6, their longest winless run in the top flight since a 9-match stint between May and October 2008. Don't get angry about it, though. This was Leicester's... I don't know, I'm not talking about Leicester.
Apparently it's saying this Ange has lost 4 league games in a row twice.
Yep.
Last season and this season. We hadn't done that since 2005, which I'm guessing was when
it's
end of Santini, beginning of Joel.
It's 03-04 under Pleat.
But I thought we lost 6 at the very beginning of Joel. But anyway, either way, it's you're thinking here, wow, this is generational.
But I asked you yesterday. I said, people talk about when our players come back and there's something to look forward to and things will turn around. I asked you yesterday, since Chelsea of last year, that 10th game, how many runs have we put together of back-to-back wins? And you told me we've had 1 run of 3 back-to-back league wins, and 2 runs of 2 back-to-back league wins. There's no consistency.
Yes.
There is no consistency. There's no consistency in injuries. There's no consistency in results. There's no consistency in performance. There is no consistency. You cannot trust this team on any level. So people saying we've got something to look forward to when others come back. No, we don't. We might have 2 back-to-back wins to look forward to, which will get us out of the relegation trouble, sure. But, going forwards, what are we going to challenge for when you can't put together back-to-back wins? You can't challenge for anything.
Correct.
You can't do anything. Again, I go back to these people that are saying, oh, he's calm because he thinks that we're not in a relegation battle, or he's calm because he thinks it's right. No, you're missing the point. We have not been consistent at any point. And Charlie, number one, I'm just going to make the last comment on Charlie, because I don't want to make the show about Charlie Brown, because I'm sorry, I think, Charlie, you're clueless. 2 things. 1, you're leading a semi-final. Y-O-U-R-E, right, firstly. And are you not a Spurs fan? If you're not a Spurs fan, what do you mean you're leading? We are leading a semi-final. You are in this as well. And if you're not in this, go somewhere else.
Are you going next week? And I'm the mug who's obviously going up to Liverpool as well. Of course I am. That's half of the problem as well, because I'm addicted. But anyway, going back to the inconsistency, and I've said this to you a number of times, consistent teams have a spine, a really solid spine. We've got Vicario as our goalkeeper, as our main goalkeeper, who's been injured, yes, but since City in the Cup last season has looked a shade of the goalkeeper, and I was worried about him day one. He doesn't look the big, strong frame of a Premier League goalkeeper, but he's our number one. And then look at Romero and Van de Ven, who will never be consistent because of injuries. Van de Ven hasn't got hamstrings. Romero, since the day he's joined, so it's not just an Ange thing. There's always been the eye on Argentina. There's clearly an eye on Real Madrid, and I don't blame him for that, because, whatever it is. So you've got 2 inconsistent centre halves. There's another team down the road whose centre halves play pretty much every minute, every game, and their goalkeeper does. Centre midfield, Bissouma, moron. Bentancur, injured since his ACL. He's never really been the same player, and also a moron. So we've gone into this season.
Did you just call Ben? No, don't do that.
Well, racism, throwing a glass at people in the Copa America, that is not behaviour becoming of a man that you can build a consistent football team around. So there's your back 5, the spine of your 5. Actually, Solanke is incredibly consistent. Last season, that was Richarlison. Injuries, no consistency there. So your whole spine is starting off inconsistent. So you cannot possibly claim to have consistency within this football team. And then you've got tactics which are just absolutely wild. Added onto that, running around
Ollie,
like headless chickens.
Also, Ollie, we said when we drew at Leicester, Jake Robson always likes to tell me it was a complete meltdown. My point about a draw at Leicester, that's something. When we drew against Leicester on the opening weekend of the Monday of the season, it may have been a couple of weeks later, but I said the problem with drawing at Leicester, losing to Ipswich, losing at Palace is you've got to go and pick up points somewhere else. And you said your season is almost defined by beating the lesser teams with respect, and you might pick up your extra points on the way. City we do well at, we've won at Old Trafford, those kind of things. But your season for us, when you're pushing like 6th to 4th, is the bulk of your points have got to come against Leicester. We have always
flat chat bullies.
We have always beaten the lesser team. We have never. There's a stat doing around before this season where we had lost like 1 of 60 against newly promoted teams. That's going out the window. Our loss yesterday was the first time since losing to Notts County in 1912 that we lost at home to a side that had lost their previous 7 games in a row.
I mean, look, but look at our season, right? Palace's first win of the season against us. Ipswich's first win of the season against us. Everton haven't scored more than a goal in 10 games, scored 3.5 an hour against us. Yesterday, they've not won a game in 7, win against us. We are a joke. We are a joke. And people defending Ange at this point, I'm sorry, there is no defence. There is no defence. We're a laughing stock.
People complain about the NHS, but Dr. Tottenham, he's doing a good job at the moment.
Yeah, when you've got fans of other teams and we want Ange to stay, you know there's a big problem. You know there is a big problem.
I've never known a manager to have such PR around him and such a cult. It's and someone's actually compared. One of our mates has compared it to like Bielsa. You've got these sort of journeyman, ultra attacking sort of like idealist football guys.
Never won anything.
Ange
has, of course, but
look. I said this to you.
You've got that before. It was the same with Mourinho. You got Mourinho stands. This is what happens when you've got FIFA generation and idiots that don't actually watch football or go. They just play FIFA and form opinions.
But Jose and Conte kind of deserve a bit of a reputation.
Yeah,
like look at their CV. But so I've said this. The PR around him is unbelievable. Everyone talks about there's this idea Ange's talent idea is off the scale. Some of the shit that we have in our squad, some of the decisions he's making, some of the writing off of players. Like I'll go back to his. I didn't know whether Spence was good, bad, or indifferent because I'd never seen him. Ange wanted him out the door. Well, actually, he's proved you wrong, mate.
This is going to.
He picked Forster and was so smug when Vicario got injured. What a great. No, Forster should never have been there. Austin has also proved you wrong, and Austin should have been in goal for the first time and not Forster in the squad. I won't mind Austin making a mistake. At least he's a club trained. Yep. He's going to be at the club. Forster's off this summer, whatever happens. I'll back that guy over there because apparently we're building something long project. Well, picking Forster is the absolute opposite of that. And then you didn't pick Spence, and it meant you put too much weight on Udogie, who came into this season having had an operation. So no, you have not got any talent ID. You've never worked with players of this level. Yeah. You are out your depth, mate.
Rant over. Can I just say, Ollie, this is going to bore absolutely everybody, but a long-lost friend just got in touch. Robert Moss is watching the stream, a very old friend of mine and yours.
Sure
yeah, it's him. He's made a comment in there that will only resonate to me. It's from the old 101 Great Goals video, which is one of the greatest football videos of all time. Yes. Robert's a Watford fan, so we might actually see him next season if we're not careful.
Who would be their manager by then?
Yeah, honestly. Ange?
Wow. Mossy, would you take Ange?
Okay, look. It's one win in, I don't know, 600.
But hold on, what's 101 Great Goals?
Do watch 101
Great Goals. No, of course I've seen it a million times. Which goal?
I don't know. It's one of the 101 goals.
It's, by the way, guys, for those who haven't seen it, it's 101 great goal, but it's very much from the glory days of English football, the real romantic view, but 60s, 70s, and 80s. And you get one camera angle. It's those old play, long flowing locks. It's
what did we talk about yesterday? There were 2 moments or 3 moments in the first half where the flag went up really quickly.
The flags went up really. By the way, that was one thing I noticed.
It was like, if we back to the 90s, we're losing at home to Leicester. We're in a relegation battle, and the flag's going up quickly. It felt like the 90s all over again.
But when I did say, kind of jokingly about it feels like the 90s, we did kind of get over the line in those sorts of games. Weirdly, we've always had a pretty good home record, even through the darkest days of the 90s. we are even off that now. We don't have a good home
It's
record.
our worst home record.
We haven't won since Villa at home.
Yeah, correct. It's our worst home record in the Premier League, in the same season in the Premier League since the 93-94, where I think we went 15 games without a home win.
And weirdly then, that season as well was an injury based season that affected everything, because if you remember, we narrowly lost to United in about October, November, where we were very high up in the league, but Sheringham did an ACL. And we had no squad to back it up, and this is the dark. There was a recession in England, in Britain, and Spurs had just come out from kind of effective bankruptcy, and there was very limited funds, and we were literally stretched to the absolute limits. Anderton was playing, but he wasn't the Anderton that came into it, and we had a manager who was playing Aussie rules football, and everything was exposed, and we went to the second last game of the season and stayed up.
I've got bad news for Barry Kendler, who's posted, I cannot see a win until after the 15th of March. Well, I'm not looking at the fixtures, Barry, but I can tell you that my birthday is the 19th of March, and we never win that fixture either. So,
Brilliant. I'm not going to allow you to comment on Robert Moss talking about the 2-3-5 formation, because I know it sets you off, and we're going to finish soon, and I'm not letting you talk about it, because you sent me a rant last night about the 2-3-5, and I'm not having it. So thank you, Mossy. I'm not setting him off. Okay.
Can I ask you a question?
You can ask me a question.
A couple of weeks ago, we sat here and said there's no point sacking Ange if we haven't got a manager ready to come in. If it's going to be Mason until the end of the season, may as well stick with Ange. And I truly believe that, when I was saying that should be the way. I don't believe that we.
Is that Redknapp?
Yeah, he's been doing it throughout the whole show. So our producer James
Gary, I thought you were looking at yourself, just checking out how good you
No.
look.
Our producer's been putting up little sort of graphics of Harry Redknapp throughout the show. I'd take Harry. But the question to you is, a couple of weeks ago we were saying there is no point in sacking Ange if it's going to be Mason until the end of the season. Where are we at with that now? Let's assume that we're not going to get another manager, and sacking Ange would mean it's Mason. Where are you at with that now?
Thinking about this before I've asked myself that question. I think Ange is our interim manager now for the summer. I think they'll stick with him. But that doesn't answer the question. If you said to me, Ange or Mason, who would I go with? I would go with Ange.
Really?
Yeah. You?
I think at this point I'd go with Mason. And I'll tell you why. Is because, I mean, neither are ideal. I think both are pretty hopeless. But Mason has at least worked under the likes of Mourinho and Conte and knows how to put in some sort of defensive structure. I don't think he would be as gung-ho as this. And I'm not saying we want to go back. Again, this isn't people going, oh, you've wanted so long to have attacking football. I'm not wanting us to deviate from attacking football, but I do want us, as Ollie has said a few times through this, to be much harder to beat. And I think under Mason,
I agree with
we
that.
would become much harder to beat.
Can I tell you why I would stick with Ange?
Mason has played probably 100 to 200 games in the Premier League, something in that order.
Which makes it
Paul,
different.
Ange has had, he's just got there's nuances of the game that is going above Ange's head.
Can I tell you why I would stick with Ange?
But it's not ideal in any way, shape, or form.
Why? Because I do think the players. I don't buy this. I don't believe they've down tools. I just don't think they're very good. I do think they're playing.
The players are good. The players are good. They've not been coached.
On that point, actually.
What, can I just one sec?
Sorry.
You don't need to apologise. Just be quiet. I think the players. I don't think he's lost the dressing room. So I just don't think he's a good manager. Sorry, I mean he's not very good. Sorry, I don't think he's a good manager, but I don't think he's lost the dressing room. I think when both of those go, you've got an even bigger problem. But I think they are still playing for him. I think they like him. So I think we'll stay up for that reason. I think in the summer, he will just have to go.
And let's be clear, I'm not saying I want Ryan Mason as our manager, Paul, who is laughing, saying that's enough for your crime for one day. Paul, grow up, okay? I honestly don't know how you are not livid with what is going on at the minute. If you're a Spurs fan and you are not hurting and you're not angry with what's going on, then I actually don't think you're a Spurs fan at all. So if you're not, just go somewhere else, please, okay? But I'm not saying I want Mason as manager. However, I do think that right now it has got to a point of untenable with Ange, and if there are no other managers and Mason is the only option, I'd probably go for that at this point.
By the way, actually, if you listen to Ange's press conference, his interview last night, he says something really interesting. He says about how the players are, giving them their all. He keeps on talking about that. He's not stupid. He knows that, the narrative around the press is that, he hasn't lost the dressing room. So he is making a big thing of that. He is focusing in on that as saying the players are still getting everything. Maddison is now going to be a problem for him because he is a senior member of this dressing room. And if something has happened between them, and I believe he wasn't going to play Maddison yesterday and said, you go on the bench. And he's like, I'm playing against my former team and you're dropping me.
But by the way, if he is dropping him, wow. I think Maddison, after a good game at Hoffenheim.
If he has, that's all conjecture.
Of course, it is conjecture.
But sorry, I've watched it, I've seen enough. There's enough smoke with fire type stuff.
But at the same time, he did pick Sarr. Maybe there was something wrong with Maddison. Maybe Maddison was able to play and he said, I don't think you're fit enough. I don't know.
But Ange is making a big comment. Two things. He's not criticising the club because if he gets sacked, he's obviously going to want a complete clean record in terms of severance payment. And two, he is also saying how hard they're working. So the narrative is still spinning around that the dressing room is still with him.
But maybe it is.
I think it is more than that. But I think these guys, there's no leaders in there. There's no Graham, whoever it is. I'm not going to say anyone, but there's no leaders in there. So was Son going to lead a revolution? No, of course he's not. This is a meek football team. There's no personality in that football team whatsoever.
Just a quick final point from me. It's something that we've discussed this week. Look, we're always out for new voices on this show. So if you're sat there at home laughing at our opinions or not agreeing with them and thinking we know nothing, get in touch, come on the show, present your opinion. We'd love to hear it. We get up here every week, we present our opinions, we put ourselves on the line, we're there to be ridiculed or whatever. But if you're sat at home and you're laughing, going, Paul, Charlie Brown, as long as you're proper Spurs fans, get in touch, get up here, get in the studio and present your opinion.
Can I jump in as well? Hotspur Sam, and I think it's a really important point. The midfield needs help, correct. Outnumbered, outgunned. 3 up front isn't working. Son is not a left winger. He does not have the legs.
He's not a centre forward either.
No, he could play as a 2.
Well, you said that before, but he's not changing that.
But he's not changing tactics, and then we're back to the same problem. The fact that he's stubborn and not doing the right things.
Gaz, I agree with what you said. People can come on here and they can laugh at our opinions. That's fine. It is a game.
But they're welcome to come on the show.
But even
give us their actual.
He might live in Timbuktu. It's not a case of, Paul said earlier, it's either agree or leave. No, Paul. Give us an opinion. Like another person saying we're the problem. My opinion differs to your opinion, differs to your opinion. No one's opinion is correct. Well, it might be correct, but you're entitled to your opinion. It is a game of opinions. But just talk to us. This is why we open up the comments.
And also, genuinely, if anybody wants to come in to the show and sit here in the studio and present their opinions, you're very, very welcome.
Absolutely.
As long as you're an actual Spurs fan and not somebody going, you Spurs fans are the problem. We are Tottenham, all of us together.
But give us your opinion.
As long as that's where you're at.
We've not had opinions from some of these people. It's just laughter.
And obviously they've got to pay the entrance fee to get into Launchpod Studios as well.
Look.
Waiting your check, Ollie.
Do you know, I said on Twitter yesterday, this is the saddest and angriest I've been about Tottenham in a long time. Because when we were rubbish in the 90s, I was a kid and maybe it didn't affect me so much and whatever. This is the saddest and angriest I've been in a long time. We are all emotional and sad.
Well, because I think as well, as I said earlier, the promise of the new stadium was that things would change. And actually, it's just got worse and worse and worse. And all of the promises that Daniel Levy made about where he was going, what his intentions were, are not coming to fruition. In fact, they're being shown up to be complete lies all the time. And it hurts a lot because you've got a lot of people out there going, we always told you this, that, the other. Levy has done a tremendous amount of good for this club. But I was really looking forward to the 5-10 years after we moved into the stadium as a period of glory for us. And at the moment, it is anything but. It is a tragedy what is going on.
Yeah, if you feel like did we if we used to shop in Morrison's, do you feel like we're now shopping in Fortnum and Mason? No, of course we're not. I don't even think we're shopping in Morrison's at the moment. And that as I said, it goes back to that optics of everything at the moment. My brother, when we went to I think the first test game of the stadium, when my brother saying this is just incredible, but the pressure's going to mount on Levy because if you don't keep this up, people will feel even more begrudged by it, and this is where, it would have happened under Mourinho, but for COVID. But then that really came to the fore under Nuno and then Conte Stellini, and it's back again. So this number of people can't be wrong this regular amount of time. The dissatisfaction is there.
Yeah.
But yes, Ange needs to go.
And you see a lot, we've had it today in the comments, you see it on social media, get behind the team. Well, as I've said, 87, your first game, maybe my first game, 87, similar. We get behind the team. We are there every week. You're going away to Liverpool. You've been
We're
away.
going to Elfsborg on Thursday, going to Liverpool in a couple of weeks.
We'll
We're up at Rangers
them.
the other
we'll
week.
Get behind them.
Like, we're always behind the team. And the stadium yesterday was behind the team the whole time. Please nobody tell other fans, get behind the team as though we're not. Right, fully behind the team, desperate for the team to do well, was desperate for them to beat Leicester, desperate for Ange to turn it around. I'd love to sit here in 6 months' time and go, thank God Ange stayed, thank God. I'd love to sit here at that point. I don't see it happening, but we're behind the team. People criticising the fans, honest to God, I've had enough of it.
Right, we're knocking this on the head.
What about the poll?
Oh yeah, we did a poll. Okay, so we asked, we are 8 points off relegation, who or what, James has taken the poll away. Thanks, James.
He's ended the poll.
Who or what is at fault for where we are? The board, 20%, lack of players, 12%, Ange, 7%, or all of the above, 58%. Yeah, we've said it for a few weeks. It's a melting pot of mistakes. And we are 15th in the league. And you may support Ange, you may not. You may support Levy, you may not. But it's a melting pot of errors. And ultimately, we've got to get away from... We could be 16th come Saturday if Everton beat Leicester. I mean, who beats Leicester at home?
At least it takes points off each other.
Takes points off each other. We've got to go to Brentford.
I suppose we want an Everton. A draw would be great, but an Everton win.
Probably.
Weirdly.
All right, so we're going to go because we have got a game on Thursday night against Elfsborg. If we win that, we will qualify and go straight through to the round of 16. Like I said, we are going to have a chat. We've had a chat with Frida Fagerlund, our friend of the show.
She's excellent.
Yeah, excellent. Swedish friend of the show. And obviously there are Swedish connections at the club in Kulusevski and Bival. She will tell us it is. So that will come out, one of our in the knows. That will come out later in the week, Tuesday, Wednesday before the game. Thank you for all your comments. We genuinely appreciate all of it. And it gets us going, and that's what we need. And I think that stands us apart as a podcast. We have your comments live, and Charlie pushing our buttons and Paul pushing our buttons. Fine. We love all of that. Keep it coming. The bottom line is we all want Tottenham to succeed. And we'll be back on Friday post a win against Elfsborg. I'm absolutely sure of that. I'm sure we're going to beat Elfsborg. But right now, what does it matter? Because I can't get over the league form. But we will be back on Friday. Oliver, thank you. Gary, thank you. And we will see you on Friday, and up the Spurs.